Alright, what is going on, guys? Scoob back with another episode of Scoob Reviews, and we're going to be picking up in this episode where we left off from the last one, with part 2 of Horizon. And so we've already gone through the entire first part, and for the second part, not much has changed really. I pretty much kept everything consistent, except I feel like I definitely improved on some things in the second part, which is weird to say because it's obviously all one montage, but there's some clear separation between the two parts. Like there are things that I did differently for some reason in the second part that I liked more than the first one. But yeah, there's not much else to say. Let's get into it. Something you can notice there, I don't know if you can really hear it, but I accidentally left the audio on from like one of the clips or the cinematic. So I faded out the clip obviously, but I forgot to turn off the audio. So yeah, you can kind of hear it right here. Looks weird, but yeah. Okay, I really like this cinematic despite this warlock having like disgusting color armor. I thought it was pretty dope. Like I have the slowed down shots, cool angle actually. This is definitely one of the better cinematics in the entire montage. So I originally wanted Shadow's Auto Rifle Slayer with origin story to be like some sort of filler or something, but then I kind of ended up like snapping on it a little bit. Like there's obviously no sync in this part, he's kind of just like killing people. But then with this last clip, I did that, which I thought was really cool. And then with his death, on the last kill, I did that where I like cut to his death and had like a twitch thing. And I thought that was sick because it would have looked honestly pretty bland and like just a filler if I had just showed all the kills. But I kind of made it like a little bit more than what it was by using those effects. When you watch this cinematic, you can tell from the screen shake that in the game when you're filming with no guns, it's just really obvious in this. And I wish I had maybe walked slower when I filmed it. Alright, so the back-to-back inaugural address lights outs from Bert and Shadow. The biggest thing that I didn't like about this pair of clips that you're about to see is the warp. And I felt like I just did a really poor job of the warp, but I really liked the sync. Especially the reload sync. I thought that was so cool. You can just see there's a ton of warp that is like super unnecessary. But something that I really felt like was important was how well I had synced the pulses and the reloads. Like it just felt really nice. So it was kind of okay that I had it's obviously never okay to have warp, but it was okay to have the warp there, I felt, in that situation, because like it was really fast paced, the sync was really nice, and yeah, I had a really good flow there. So that was like one of my favorite clips to edit in this, because it was just like really fun to get that like snappy flow with the bursts. These cinematics are super boring. There's really nothing to say. They're just really linear, basic shots. Nothing actually like important going on. I was just trying to fill time, I think, because I couldn't fit another clip in here, so I just had to use cinematics. But I do like this transition from like facing the hunter to facing the warlock, and that's interesting because it's similar to the Bannerfall one, but I feel like I did this better because there's like some actual development in like the cinematic with the warlock walking here with Whisper into Shadow's trick shot, which like I don't even care if you say it's not a clip, it's dope. I love editing Destiny trick shots, they look cool. But something to notice about this is that, so obviously Shadow at the time he played on PS4, so his clips were 30 FPS 1080p, and I couldn't use time remap because they're 30 FPS obviously. But when you use Twixtor on like a spinning like trick shot like this, you get a lot of warp. And you're supposed to use time remap on trick shots because there's a ton of spinning, so the frames are a lot different. And so I guess I'll do a quick explanation of time remap versus Twixtor. Alright, so time remap, I don't really understand exactly how it works, but I know there's a lot less warping because you're sort of like working with more frames. But I know how Twixtor works, and that is, it sort of takes, if you have 2 frames, or I guess 3 frames, and the one in between the first and the third one, if you want to like speed that up, it'll sort of take a guess as to what the in-between frame would look like and try to blend them, and that's where you get warp, is that the frames sort of blending and like the program trying to sort of interpolate what it thinks the next frame would look like. And so it's really tough to get smooth like trick shot motion with Twixtor like this, because every frame is so different from the last one. When Twixtor tries to blend the 2 frames together and produce what it thinks would happen, it just looks really bad. So that's why time remap is so important to use in certain situations, and that's why I was kind of shoehorned into using Twixtor here because it was 30 FPS, and I sort of did what I could by just kind of letting it play, but there's still a little bit of warp. I thought this impact was pretty cool actually. It's like hits really hard. I also like this pair of cinematics as well. Like I definitely improved my cinematic flow on the second part for sure. Like I like the rays coming down here over the Whisper gun, and then I really like this under the gun sort of perspective here. Despite this transition being really choppy and not that good, I still like both cinematic. So I'm still kind of abusing sound effects, but not really as bad as the first part. I guess between parts I kind of learned like when to use them and when not to use them. little bit of a saber action there. So that's when the ring lights up. That's saber and rays, or maybe I just used rays. I don't really remember. I think it might have just been rays. But yeah, at the time I was like, oh, that's so dope, but then it's actually not that dope. Here in this cinematic, I kind of copied the perspective from the last one, so it's not as impressive, but it's still okay. This cinematic is like fine, but I thought that what really stood out about it was when I cut the clip in and out. You'll notice I do that a lot, like in future montages, I do that a lot, just because it's a good way to transition to the clip without using like a boring scale or blur transition or something. So here in this clip, Bert's actually about to shoot that he misses this shot, and I couldn't find a good way to skip to the next shot that's relevant. So what I did was I sort of just made like a big jump like I did with Bert's Darcy clip, and it ended up looking pretty good. This cinematic, I think, is dope because of the background on the... God, what is that map? Holy shit. Worm something? I don't know. Worm something? But yeah, it looks super cool with this like light in the background. I thought it was a really nice contrast to have this player character model here with the display in the background. This shake effect on the build-up shot was completely unnecessary. It just looks really weird. I think I had the frequency of shakes too low, so it's like too slow, and the amplitude too high, so like they're too big. What I would have done is turn the frequency up so there's more shakes and they're also smaller to make it, I don't know, it would just feel a lot better. So here I have a bit of like change color and then some TV channel change, which I thought was cool because I used it earlier in the montage, and it sort of, I like that cinematic a lot. The rest of the phoneless clip is just kind of odd, but so I guess for people that didn't see it in the montage, there is an Easter egg in this clip. So here we have Solve 2, which obviously everybody knows about. That's not a secret. Oh, I guess you can't really see it. They're kind of hard to see because I made them. The reason no one found it is because I made them super like hard to see. But and then there's 2 other Easter eggs which I'm not going to mention, but they're in here if you want to go find them. And so then we're coming to our last clip, Shadows Borealis Reaper Midtown, which is just a really nice clip. And so he really wanted me to do this, where you have the kill feed shine with rays, like because he got a quad feed and it looks really nice because it's stacked. And so basically what you do, it's like Aberdeen told me, basically you just like put the rays and mask it, okay, and you got to feather the mask so it doesn't like look like it's confined. But I think I feathered it too much, so the rays like started affecting things outside of the kill feed, which was bad, and you can obviously see it right here when I pause it. But I guess if you're just watching the montage through, you can't really tell, so that's all right. But it's just an okay effect. The last thing that kind of leaves like a sour taste in my mouth is this metal popping up. It's like it's like way too fast. I don't know why I made it so fast, and it sort of just comes on and then stops and then slowly gets bigger. And what I would have done instead is had it get bigger, not as fast, like have it more on like a gradient, like a bell curve, so it gets bigger and bigger and then like really slowly goes back and shrinks down, which would have been nice. But I guess this is all I have. And then, yeah, that's the end. Alright, so obviously part 2 was a bit shorter than part 1. I don't know why that is. I guess they just didn't have many clips left. I may have used too many in part 1. But overall, I felt like part 2 was definitely better than part 1. Like, part 1 is fine, but part 2 is where, like, I refined a lot of things that I messed up on in part 1 without even really knowing about it. I didn't really spam the swoosh sound effects as much. I didn't really spam that whole, like, the same effects a ton, except for in this clip when I used the shake effect too much on this first shot. I just didn't like that at all. The last thing I want to talk about is my CC, of course, because you gotta talk about it with every montage. It was getting better at this point. This one is better than XA2, I think, and obviously better than anything before it. It's still not really that good, and it doesn't really fit the song that well, but it was okay. It's just an okay CC. Like, it obviously could use a lot of improvement, but it's better than nothing, and by far better than the CCs that I had used in the past. So overall, this project was super fun to make. It was a great time working with Bert and Shadow, and it was a really big step in my editing process because I learned a ton about the sound effects and how to use different effects, and yeah, it was just a really impactful edit, and I'm really thankful for the opportunity to edit Bert and Shadow's clips because it ended up helping me a ton. Alright guys, that's going to be it for this Scoob Reviews. Make sure you let me know what you thought in the comments, leave any suggestions if you liked the video, and yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one.